Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of F&I Focus, the only podcast dedicated to building better F&I departments throughout the country. I'm your host, Ken Gordon, with the Ford Protect SDR Profit Builder Program, and I want to take a moment here before we get cranked up to thank all of you who are tuning in on a regular basis. We appreciate your support so much as we continue to grow and build and improve upon this project. We can't win and we can't do it without you. So thanks for showing up every week. And please be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you'll be alerted when new content shows up. And remember to give us a thumbs up and leave us some feedback there as well. Last time on F&I Focus, we talked about your comfort zones and how getting out of them could help you grow and become more successful. Today we're going to talk about something that is sorta related to that. And at the end of this recording, I'd like you to take another moment to review your previous month's business and think in terms of personal performance. So, are you familiar with the Pareto Principle? So not long ago, I was looking around for something to talk about, something to write about, and I stumbled across the Pareto Principle. Pareto Principle, P-A-R-E-T-O. So I looked it up on Wikipedia, and this is what I found. Now, the next couple of paragraphs are going to sound a lot like I'm reading it, and that's because I am. I'm not going to be able to put this into my own words, so I'm going to read it to you. All right, so the Pareto Principle, also known as the 80-20 rule, states that for many events, not all of them, but many, roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. You've all heard that before, the 80-20 rule. There's a guy by the name of Joseph Horan. He's a business management consultant, and he suggested the principle and named it after an Italian economist named Vilfredo Pareto, who observed in 1906 that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of the population. Pareto developed the principle by observing that 20% of the pea pods in his garden contained 80% of the peas. Now, I know what you're thinking. What in the world does any of that have to do with F&I? Well, I'm getting there, so hang in there with me, okay? The 80-20 rule is a common rule of thumb in business. For example, 80% of your sales come from 20% of your customers. 80% of a company's complaints come from 20% of its customers. 80% of a company's sales come from 20% of its products. And 80% of a company's sales are made by 20% of its sales staff. Now, based upon that last one, I'm pretty sure all of you have it figured out exactly where I'm going with all this 80-20 stuff. So let's bring it all together and try to relate it to the F&I department. In the past, you've heard me talk about the bell curve, and the bell curve is a perfect example of the 80-20 rule. It states that 20% of your customers will either buy everything or buy nothing. 10% everything, 10% nothing. That leaves 80%. So 80% of your customers simply want you to give them a good reason why they should buy something from you, and they probably will. So how do you determine what that good reason is for the 80%? Here's the answer. Back to the basics. How many times have you heard me say that? Start with the customer interview. Complete the interview on the sales floor at the salesperson's desk. Why? Because they're in their comfort zone. Don't take them out of that just yet. They've made a buying decision and they should feel good and comfortable and excited. During the interview, set the expectation by telling the customer who you are and what your responsibilities are as they relate to the deal. You're there to assist them with their funding needs, answer any questions they have, and get them on their way as soon as possible. Ask questions to gain knowledge about their driving habits. For example, how long will they keep the vehicle and how many miles do they typically drive per year? Once the interview is complete, excuse yourself, prepare the menu based upon the interview, bring the customer in, and make your menu presentation. The most important things to remember are: do not skip steps. Do not prejudge your customers and make your full presentation every single time. Being a successful F&I manager requires practice and repetition. You've heard it said that practice makes perfect, but really it should be perfect practice makes perfect. Practice as if it were real. Practice your presentation and your delivery so that when you're in the deal and in the heat of the battle, so to speak, nothing phases you. You know exactly what to say and how to say it. Make no exceptions and no excuses. This is your livelihood. This is how you provide for yourself and your family. Treat it like a career, not just a job. Okay, so I'm off my soapbox now and back to the 80-20 rule. In almost every dealership, in every region throughout the country, the rule stands. 80% of all Ford Protect core contracts are sold by 20% of the F&I managers. That 20% of F&I managers have personal goals and objectives. That 20% of F&I managers have a structured plan and a strategy to achieve a higher level of performance. The other 80% tend to have no plan, no goal, no objective, tend not to participate in training, tend not to seek out additional instructions, ideas, or assistance, and appear not willing to contribute to their own personal growth and development. So the question is, are you in the top 20% or are you in the 80% category? I would venture to say that if you're still listening, you're part of the top 20%, and you do have a goal, a plan, and a strategy. The other 80% have probably already tuned out. Now, looking back at last month, were you completely focused on performance, achievement, strategy, and goals? Did you allow an obstacle or an outside influence to affect your thoughts or your attitude? What could you have done differently or better? Now take a look at this month. Do you have an objective? Do you have a plan? How's your attitude today? Ask yourself that question every morning. How's my attitude? Are you completely committed to performance? Be at the top of your game every day and see the results every month. The Army says, be the best you can be. We agree. The purpose of the Profit Builder program is to provide you with process and instruction to help improve performance. So what can we do to help you today? How are you tracking for Ford Protect penetration? More than 60% of the month is behind us. There's only 11 selling days left until Ford Protect close. Here are some tips to help you finish strong. Number 1, when the customer asks a question, simply answer it and ask them to buy. Not all questions are objections. Number 2, don't close the presentation about a service contract with a pitch on roadside assistance. They may already have that. Or the concierge service, an added perk. The last thing you say about service contracts, the point that lingers in their mind while they think yes or no, should be a pitch for the core value it offers the customer. It fixes your car when it breaks. Number 3, don't procrastinate. Get things done as soon as possible so you don't end up with a big pile of paperwork to complete all at once. ESP contracts should be registered upon completion of each deal. Use the e-contracting for speed and efficiency. Number 4, don't give up. Ask everyone to buy an ESP contract. Cash buyers need products too. Just because someone pays cash for a vehicle does not mean they shouldn't get a full-blown product presentation. Number 5, don't assume. Your service department is a great source for leads. Every day you should make an effort to prospect your service drive for potential ESP customers. Finance managers that are good at overcoming customer objections to F&I products are made, not born. They work at it. They practice, drill, and rehearse. They learn from their mistakes. They try again. They use proven, time-tested methods. Challenge yourself. Take your game to the next level. If you're tracking 30% ESP penetration, push yourself to 35. If you're tracking 35, push yourself to 40. If you're tracking 40%, push yourself to 45. You get the point. How much difference in pay would you make for an additional 5 to 10% ESP penetration? How much more will you make on your Journey to Success incentives from Ford? Think about it and then make a decision to get better. So there you have it, friends, some thoughts and ideas that may help you make more money. Thanks for joining me today for another episode of F&I Focus. Make it great, don't give up, and practice your craft. I'm Ken Gordon with the Ford Protect SDR Profit Builder Program, and I'll see you next time on F&I Focus.